It is Wednesday, March 5th, 2025. And of course, a lot's going on in the world. We'll be talking about that here on World Edition, seeing what folks have got to say. And all along those lines, J.D. Vance denies disrespecting Ukraine and France over Ukraine peacekeeping force. So, a disgrace and clown, J.D. Vance, a random country comment, roused both Britain and France. And Starmer praises the sacrifice of British troops in Afghanistan and Iraq in an oblique rebuke to Vance. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about. They're also talking about the outfit that he was wearing at the presidential speech to Congress and all along those lines. So that's something that's in social media, and folks have been talking about it in that space. Israelis cut off of supplies to Gaza sends prices soaring as aid stockpiles dwindle. So on October 7th report, Israeli security agency put some blame on Netanyahu. So definitely that's something that folks are talking about as well. So definitely that's something that is being discussed in the world news. One moment and calm waters. The next, a 900-pound dolphin landed on their boat. So that was a story that came out on CNN. U.S. and Israel reject Arab alternative to Trump's Gaza reconstruction plan. So the U.S. rejects the alternative Gaza reconstruction plan proposed by Arab leaders. So that's something that folks will be talking about as well in terms of what's going on in the Middle East. The Pope is resting after sleeping through the night with a ventilation mask as he battles pneumonia. So definitely, Pope has another restful night in Rome's Gemelli Hospital, and it looks like he rested well and wakes up to the 20th day in the hospital. And it looks like he had 2 episodes of acute respiratory failure, but is alert and resting, according to the Vatican on yesterday. Tropical cyclone Alfred is to lash Queensland and New South Wales, Australia. So that's something that is going on. Australians in some East Coast areas have been urged to evacuate ahead of a very rare cyclone. So it's saying that it's threatening millions on Australia's East Coast. And can Europe keep Ukraine in the fight if America really has bailed? So European far-right Trump allies issue rare criticism over Ukraine, and they're saying that Europe has no choice but to seize frozen Russian assets. So that's definitely something that is being discussed in the world as well. And the world's largest and oldest iceberg runs aground near remote Penguin Island. So the queen of icebergs, A23A, grounds off South Atlantic Wildlife Haven. So the world's biggest iceberg runs aground after a long journey from Antarctica. And Israel says Hamas must commit to free more hostages for the ceasefire to be extended. So that's something that folks are talking about as well. And Hersh Halevi to Netanyahu, IDF can never leave our own in enemy territory. So new Israeli military chief assumes command with Gaza ceasefire in the balance. So definitely looks like this conflict will be going on for a while as well. U.S. designates the Houthis as a terrorist organization, reversing the Biden move. So, U.S. designates Yemen's Houthis as foreign terrorist organization, and designation of Ansarallah as a foreign terrorist organization as well. So, definitely, this is something that folks will be talking about also. And the Rio Carnival Street Party, where dogs parade as superheroes and cartoon characters, is definitely going on. So, definitely Carnival has been taking place there in Brazil, and I'm sure folks are definitely enjoying it in that environment and all along those lines. In Manham, the mayor praises the taxi driver who blocked an attack. 2 dead and 25 injured after a vehicle drives into a crowd. So that's something that was reported a few days ago as well. And Japan is fighting the forest fire that has forced 1,200 people to evacuate and thousands evacuated as Japan's biggest fire in decades is definitely a cause of concern in that area. So the largest wildfire in decades rages in Japan as authorities warn it could spread. So we'll see how this all goes as well. So definitely lots going on in that space, and we'll have folks thinking about that as well. And definitely, there was the Trump speech yesterday, and everything from trans issues to immigration to a number of other things were discussed. There were some Democratic congresspeople and others that either walked out or had various forms of protests and all along those lines. So it was definitely an interesting speech. I think it's one of the longest because if I heard the commentators correctly and everything like that, it actually surpassed the one that had previously had that record, which was the one by Clinton when Clinton was in office. And Trump's latest tariffs on Canada, Mexico, and China could be his biggest gamble. So definitely Trump to decide on Canada-Mexico relief today, according to Lutnick. And Trump's trade war draws swift retaliation with new tariffs from Mexico, Canada, and China. So definitely folks are talking about that. They're talking about some of the things that were said in the speech, and we'll definitely be getting to some commentary on that as well. White House says Ukraine weapons and intel pause will lift when Russia talks set. And by the way, that was one of the things that was brought up in the speech by President Trump. He was saying that he had heard from Zelensky and that there was going to be some further conversations about a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine, and that he had gotten a letter from Zelensky saying he was open to that, and I think also open into the minerals deal as well. So we'll see if this is actually the case or how this all plays out. LA City Council votes not to reinstate fire chief fired by the mayor. So the Los Angeles fire chief loses appeal, but strikes a PR blow against Karen Bass. And some folks are trying to figure out what's next for Kristen Crowley in terms of career and all along those lines. China says it's ready for any type of war with the U.S., so China manufacturers are scrambled to mitigate tariff pain and an escalating global trade war. So China slaps extra tariffs of up to 15% on imports of major U.S. farm exports and adds trade limits. So Trump turns up the heat. China says, bring it on. So definitely it looks like we got some trade wars that are going on as well. And Trump offered Greenland a deal during his address. President Trump says he will take Greenland one way or the other. And that's something that was said in the speech as well. And he also talked about the Panama Canal and reclaiming that as well. So definitely a lot's going on in that space. In terms of the weather, well, if you're in Minnesota, looks like they're having snow totals from March 4th, 5th total, so thousands in the metro area without power Wednesday morning due to a spring snowstorm. Not that we're actually in spring, but it's actually getting close to spring and all along those lines. And blizzard leads to road and school closures and power outages across southern Minnesota. So, and Zelensky conciliatory letter to Trump suggests he's run out of road. So Zelensky describes the Oval Office meeting as regrettable, says he's ready to negotiate peace. Trump says Ukraine willing to negotiate and Russia is ready for peace as well. So we'll see how this all plays out and what goes on in that space. Trump makes a 13-year-old DJ Daniels dream come true in address to the Congress. So social media explodes after Dems do not stand for the 13-year-old cancer survivor. Some folks over there on Fox were saying truly 6 people with so came show flair. Trump recognized guests at Capitol address, including a guest that I believe was getting ready to go to West Point, and another guest that had been killed in the incident in Butler, Pennsylvania, or the attempted assassination attempt, and all along those lines. And Representative Al Green shouted down Trump and may face censure by the House for the outburst. So MSNBC hosts on Democrats at Trump's speech. The signs are not landing, is according to the article in The Hill and all along those lines. So definitely interesting things going on in the world, including Education Secretary Linda McMahon laying out the Education Department's final mission. So she's been confirmed as a Trump Secretary of Education, and Education Department shutdown may be imminent as McMahon sends a final mission memo. So who knows, maybe this will be a department that might be ending and all along those lines. And the Trump administration released the list of hundreds of federal buildings targeted for potential sale. So U.S. takes down list of federal properties for possible sale as well. So that just happened about an hour ago. So maybe it looks like the Trump officials have marked hundreds of federal properties for potential sale, but now they've taken that list. So maybe they're not for sale after all. We'll find out whether they're for sale or not. And Trump says a little disturbance from tariffs is okay as the market reels from trade war fears. So Trump claims India's auto tariff exceeds 100%, but is he getting his numbers wrong? So Trump is warning Americans of economic discomfort as the trade war erupts. And Washington, D.C. is to remove Black Lives Matter paintings from the street near the White House. So Black Lives Matter Plaza to get new look, replace street mural as part of the evolution, and the White House backs off of executive order impinging on D.C. authority. So D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser suggests Black Lives Plaza will be painted over, and that was reported on yesterday. And Trump says that the Pakistan captured man tied to the Kabul airport attack, and that he's supposedly on his way over here. So Trump reveals top terrorist behind Abu Ghraib attack apprehended and facing swift sword of American justice. And Slotkin, who gave the Democratic response, warns Trump will make you pay in Democrats' response to speech. Would have lost us the Cold War, as is what she said, as she blasted Trump's foreign policy in response to the congressional address and all along those lines. So one of the other things that I just read recently and everything, oh, by the way, the Supreme Court seems eager to kill a big lawsuit against gun companies. So the Supreme Court likely to shoot down Mexico's $10 billion lawsuit against U.S. gun makers. So that's something that is going on as well. And with all these executive orders and all the different things that are going on, I did learn earlier today, and I'll bring in Nick Palveda and Rick Rosner and see what they heard about these things and all along those lines. But I learned that Ben Franklin may not be the $100 bill anymore. There's a senator, I believe, out of Texas who is proposing that Donald Trump be the face of the $100 bill. So, Nick, what's your thoughts on this, that Donald Trump may be the face of the $100 bill? You got the voice. It's like that sounded like Mickey or Donald. Yeah. Go back out and in, but yeah, you're sounding like that whole garbled voice thing, and Rick has disappeared. So I don't know where Rick's at. He might be away from the office and everything, but hopefully he'll be back shortly and we'll see his face and all along those lines. But yes, I did learn that that is something that is being proposed, this notion of having the $100 bill be replaced with Ben Franklin's face being replaced by that of President Trump. So that is something that folks are looking at possibly having done and everything like that. And by the way, it does look like the Trump administration is pushing to slash IRS workforce in half. So the IRS workforce could halve after Trump hails cuts to federal staffing in marathon congressional speech. So IRS planning to cut nearly 50,000 jobs in the middle of tax season. So that's something that folks are talking about as well. So there we go. We'll see if I've got Rick with me, and also if Nick's voice is sounding better and all along.
You're not saying anything.
Yes, now you're better and everything. Hey, Rick, what do you think of this notion? I saw this when I was preparing for the news that there's a congressman, I think out of Texas, that wants to replace the $100 bill with the face of Donald Trump. Apparently, you can't do it unless when there is a living person, but he is proposing it. And the last time that it was done, I think Andrew Jackson replaced Grover Cleveland or something like that.
It's ridiculous. I think there are rules against not putting a living person on stamps and currency, and it's one of a number of goofy bills. Somebody wants to make a $250 bill and put Trump's picture on it. Anna Paulina Luna, the Texas stripper turned congresswoman, wants to put Trump on Mount Rushmore. And, I don't even know if there's enough rock next to Lincoln to fit him in there. I guess there would be, but that's goofy too. This is,
Yes, that sounds goofy. Hey, Nick, I know you're into loving things when there are opportunities to make money and everything. And apparently they were going to sell some of the federal buildings. And I guess they took the list down because they've got to figure out how they can sell these federal buildings and everything. So are you going to go buy a federal building if they are for sale? Because apparently that was one of the things they were going to do, was make some of these buildings that have been in D.C. available for sale.
Well, Mark, you got to look at trends, okay? And when I'm saying look at trends, let's go back to the $100 bill. How many people here have paid their last bill with a $100 bill? When did you use a $100 bill last? You don't use it, okay? I use these things called credit cards to pay my bills, and most people do, because you get points for doing it. If you pay it off, it's really profitable for you. If you don't pay it off, it's really bad for you. but I use credit cards.
I haven't had cash in my wallet for months.
Oh my Lord! You know, I have to remember to go out and get cash because you know, who uses cash today? Everything is done on credit, and so if he put himself on toilet paper, who cares? Nobody uses. Well, people use toilet paper more than they would $100
Well, I had
bill.
an interesting. Speaking of that, I had an interesting moment yesterday. I was, as y'all know, we could get around by mass transit. I had a couple of because we had an event at the center, as y'all know, from World Politics yesterday. So I had some extra sodas, and I gave the sodas to a young lady, and then she basically panhandled me and everything. And like you, I don't carry a lot of cash on me, if any at all. And then she asked me, and I thought about it. Maybe that's what more panhandlers are doing, even in California. She asked me if I had a cash app and if I could cash app her some money. So maybe there's a new form of panhandling. So instead of panhandling for cash, because nobody has any cash on them,
Yeah,
they're asking for you
I
to
don't
send
know.
money.
You know, I get around solely in Barcelona on mass transit. I do not have a car here. It's like being in Manhattan and owning a car. That's really bad because even if you bought a place that has a parking spot, you can't go anywhere and find a parking spot in Barcelona. So you might, and they have excellent, excellent subways, trams, and buses. I mean, so the thing is, and after a while, you know the whole system, so you can easily get to A to B without ever having to touch a disgusting car. And then when you get desperate, I hire a taxi cab driver, and it really works well. So forget having a car. But yeah, going on to the $100 bill, forget cash. The trend is people don't use cash except internationally. Oddly enough, the $100 bill is one of the main use currencies. In other words, to launder money. Okay, so that's about the only use of the $100 bill today. So maybe he's appropriate to be on the $100 bill because its main use is to launder money. Now, in terms of Mount Rushmore, they have to go through a lot of stuff. You know, these are Trump sycophants, obsequious sycophants that exist. They even show up on our show every now and then, and it's almost hilarious. Trump walks on water. Trump's wonderful. You know, they don't have a bloody brain to see that he's definitely, like one commentator said, a very flawed human being. Okay, so with that, the more important things that are going on is
we have the tariffs. And what did you think of the speech and the tariffs? And
I first of all, I didn't watch the speech at all. In Barcelona, the speech comes on at like 3:00 in the morning. You know, in other words, so forget it. I'm not going to stay up that late to watch some guy pray.
I watched the first, I don't know, half hour of it. It went for an hour and 40 minutes, the longest such speech since they've started.
Did he say or do anything interesting? I'm sure he did. Well, I heard from Mark that he wants to acquire Greenland. Now that would be pretty interesting.
He said he said everything you think he was going to say. You know, he said that there are tens of millions of Americans who are older than 120 years old who are getting Social Security checks, including a guy who's 360 years old. This is all BS. It's been
it can't be true because those people can't cash their checks, so they can't be getting checks they can't cash. They're dead.
He did,
but it makes good theory. See, here's the thing with Trump: he makes good theory. He's really funny. Oh, do you know we sent 200 people Social Security checks? They're 130 years old. Oh no, are you kidding? Boy, that's horrible. No, you didn't. Because
I mean, I don't think it changed anybody's mind. It got 44. So CNN did a poll. They said the polling was done among people who ran 14% more Republican than the general population. He got 44% strong approval, 25% moderate approval, which is the lowest for any of these State of the Union type speeches, because this is his fifth one, because this is his, you know,
right. He's on his second term. But
so he didn't change anybody's mind. He did.
Yeah, I think Rick, is what's going on with the tariffs. And the reason why is this. I believe Donald is suffering under delusion. His delusion is he can make America great again by collecting tariffs and getting rid of the income tax. All right. And as they say on Pawn Stars, that ain't happening.
No, Nick, he had another interesting idea that kind of plays into the tariffs and everything. And we have a show here on Pod TV, and I'm actually curious to see what Cindy thinks about this. But there was a vibrant, I think it still exists, but the way that Trump was talking, it doesn't exist the way that it used to. But there used to be a vibrant shipping industry here in the United States. And he definitely made it a point that he was going to bring back shipping to the U.S. So he's going to build both military ships as well as, I guess, cruise ships and bring more of the shipping industry to this area to America. So is this something that we think is viable and doable here in America? Because basically he was saying that
our labor costs are too high. See, the real problem is that you have a labor force here that is very well trained and very expensive. Mm-hmm. So the shipping industry is better off in some other country where their labor cost isn't that high. Then you have to deal with a labor intensive business. The United States doesn't seem to do well because of our labor costs are high. But now if he puts tariffs, then all of a sudden it does kind of level the field. And maybe, it's a definite maybe, you could have a shipping industry here. Then the other thing is, why would you want a shipping industry here? You know, is our future really shipping, or is it really artificial intelligence and technology? And when I was working in San Francisco, one of the persons I worked with founded a pretty large company, Silicon Genesis or something like that. He was the founder. And what happened was that what they do in San Francisco, they develop the technology, then they go to Korea to basically implement the technology. They don't do it here. The Koreans, they're geared, they work harder for less, and they love this stuff. So, but what happens here is they develop the technologies here, and then they move them abroad. I think the tariffs are going to be the big issues. In other words, big issue coming up is how bad is that going to affect the stock market?
The White House is already walking back some of it, saying
that's what I figured they're going to have to start walking back, because here's the real problem, Rick. The solid Republican Party, which I used to be a member of, is very greedy. They like to make money. Okay, they're geared. They're you have to imagine they're wired for profit. All right. When something hurts their pocketbook, it doesn't matter if you're Democrat, Republican, black or white. You all of a sudden become an enemy of their state. I mean, it just isn't going to happen. So he has a real problem if this affects their pocketbook with the recent market downturn, and if it continues. Another problem you have in the market, and this Milan came up, and I think his show comes up right afterwards, but it really hit home. The price earnings ratio of the average S&P 500 is like 29. It used to be 18. Now, what does that mean? It means if you made $100,000 a year, you're worth 2.9 million, as opposed to 1.8 million. Realize that all these stocks are a multiple of earnings, and people don't realize when they say, "Oh, the guy lost 650 billion." No, they didn't. They lost their quote market cap. In other words, people what they believe it's worth if they bought and sold the stock. So the P ratios are extremely important. And so Milan says he's basically going to stay home. And probably that's the right strategy. I have a hard time doing it because I like dabbling in the market. But if you think about it, if your P ratios are 29 and they should be 18, your average investment, if you put in 100,000, you're going to lose 10,000. You know, it's just the way
it also means that boomer bucks are chasing profits. That all the people our age, they have all the money in America. They have 94% of the money, and they're looking for ways to increase their return.
And we had a bull market. We had a bull market for years, and we haven't seen a bear market, a very strong bear market in a long time. You see a strong bear market in the next 2 years, you're going to see where Washington, D.C. is going to be full of blue. It's just the way it is. In other words,
the way it is and everything. But speaking of the bull market, really quickly, I had a question for Rick and everything, because you said you watched 30 minutes and everything, and I don't know if you got to that part and everything, but I did watch when they were bringing up, because I watched probably the part that you didn't watch, because I think I watched toward the end versus toward the beginning because of some other commitments that I had and everything like that. But I did notice that there was a time where he brought up a lot of people. I mean, he talked about that whole notion that God had saved his life in order to save America, and he brought up the person that had lost their lives, and brought their family members, the wife and the two daughters. And in looking at the two daughters, at one point it looked like they were, I won't say disinterested, but that they weren't as maybe as enthusiastic until later in the speech and everything as they were probably expected to be, as opposed to the guy that's going off to West Point, and Trump did like one of them game show announcements where he said, "You're going to West Point." So he basically announced that the kid was going to West Point during his speech.
Yeah, they do sentimental stuff. He had brought up a 13-year-old kid,
Yes,
Make-A-Wish kid, and made him a Secret Service agent.
Right.
Yeah, and he knows how to play the television, because being on The Apprentice for years and The Celebrity Apprentice for years, it taught him how to manipulate the media. So with that in mind, Mark, he doesn't have a journalism major, but basically he has one because of the amount of time he spent in front of the boob tube. So he knows how to talk in front of the camera, stage a show, get people in. So for that standpoint, I knew it's going to be a show. And I also know, as long as he's in office, it's going to give Pod TV. We get ratings boost.
Well, give us plenty of material. Actually, Sasha made a prediction.
Can you imagine Biden as president again? No one would watch our shows because Biden is boring.
Yeah, can we?
Sasha made a prediction and everything, and that prediction. Hold on a second.
Shipping. Let me do shipping for a second.
Yeah,
so COVID really effed up the world shipping industry. If you want to send a package, a simple package, yay big, to England, it's $130. I bought a tchotchke from France that fits in a box this big, 110 euros. What is going to happen with shipping is that people are looking to buy local. Like when you buy on Etsy or eBay, it tells you how far away it's coming and then how much your carbon footprint is for buying some giga from Northern California. Now, and cruise ships are giant shit machines. You've got 2,000, 3,000 passengers, 1,500 staff, and they're all pooping, and they just leave a trail of poop across the ocean, and they burn a lot of fuel. If they want to fix what you need to do is just turn a lot of cruise ships into just floating hotels that just stay put. And it's a cheap vacation. I love a cruise because I'm a lazy bastard. And, you just go on there and they take care of everything for you. You unpack once. But I don't like going anywhere. I don't like any of the ports of call. But it's cheaper than going to a hotel per night. It's like 110 per person per night, which is cheaper than a lot of hotels, and it's food included, ass kissing included, because they're staffed by foreign people who are probably getting paid the equivalent of $3 an hour. And they're happy to have the job, and they've been told to be super kiss ass. I don't like the kiss ass stuff, but it's part of the cruise experience.
It's part of the cruise industry, and Sasha has worked in the cruise industry. I have a friend that's about to take a job there in the near future, and all along those lines. But I've had some other folks that have been in that industry. Sasha, you had mentioned this possibility on yesterday's show and everything, and it looks like it transpired, because like I was saying, I did watch the back end of the speech, and he made this notion, and I know that you and Jonathan Lockwood have talked about it. Two things that you and Jonathan Lockwood have talked about. He announced that he is going to do the Golden Dome defense and all along those lines, so he did make that announcement. I know that that's something that Jonathan has been a big supporter of and everything. And he also said that Zelensky had sent him a letter and that it basically opened up the possibility of negotiations again. So I just wanted your take on that part of the speech, because as soon as I heard that, and like I said, I caught the tail end of it, I was like, hey, I wonder if Jonathan sent him a letter, because Jonathan has been touting that defense for as long as I've known him through your show and everything. But it looks like they are saying that just like Israel has their dome defense, America will now have a dome defense as well.
Mark, if you look at the map and you look at the difference between Israel and United States, just size-wise, you understand that what's possible to do in Israel, it's impossible to do in United States simply because of its size. So at the best, what they can have a defense, possibly in a few years' time, to defend against the submarines, say Russian submarines or Chinese, that are fairly close to American shore, and from there they can attack. and that could provide some defensive capabilities. Even that, it's um, well, I wanted to ask everybody, what do you think is in common between this, how they call it, Golden Dome,
Mhm.
and this rare earth metals worth $500 billion?
It's good. It'll make Elon Musk another frickin' $50 billion. He'll design like systems that may or may not work and probably won't get, because the Iron Dome defends against missiles traveling, I don't know, 1,000 miles an hour. Intercontinental ballistic missiles, the kind we would have to defend against, travel at 25,000 miles an hour. They shoot up into space, then they quit, then the propulsion cuts off, and then they're in free fall, and you don't know where the F they are because they're not spending propellant. Now you can't find them, and now you have to frickin' intercept them as they're coming back in, and they have multiple warheads, and you have to hit, if it splits into 6 warheads, you have to knock out all 6. The physics is ridiculous.
Okay, so if you cannot build whatever golden or silver dome or whatever it might be, then the best way is exactly what Trump is doing. He's getting close to Russia and China. This are two countries that most likely to attack US and create probably very significant damage. So if he is friends with these two countries, then it eliminates all problems with the Iron Dome or Silver Dome or even Golden Dome. They don't need that, except one thing. At some point before the Second World War, Stalin and Hitler were best friends. And they had treaty, and they had everything, and it still didn't stop Germany to attack Russia. And if Germany wouldn't attack Russia, Russia would attack Germany in 2 months' time, about August of 41.
There's another new problem, which is the Skynet problem, which is AI is increasingly up in everybody's business. And the US and Russia each have 1,700 nuclear warheads. And if AI starts influencing, it's a destabilizing technology, and we should get rid of. Each country we should have. I mean, we're not going to have talks, but we over the past 40 years we've had nuclear arms reduction talks that have led to reduce. Each country used to have close to 7,000 nuclear warheads. We've knocked that down by 70%. But we should keep talking, and each country should get down to like 150 nukes. But given who the leaders are right now, that probably won't happen.
But it's not so fast. Hey, wait a sec.
Okay.
Now, Ukraine example of Budapest Memorandum 1994, when it gave all its nuclear weapons to Russia, guaranteed its independence by Russia, UK, and US. Now, it's obvious that had Ukraine didn't do that and would have nuclear weapons, Russia would never attack it. I'm not saying that Russia would go ahead and Ukraine would start shooting its missiles to Moscow and St. Petersburg. Russia wouldn't even think about attacking a nuclear power country. So right now, when it's all obvious, more and more countries, starting from the Far East, like South Korea, Japan, Asian countries, they will strive to get nuclear weapons. I'm not suggesting a huge quantities like China has, or Russia, or even, but even the arsenal similar to that of France is great deterrence. Nobody will even think about twice attacking France. So if somebody like Japan or South Korea will have nuclear arsenal, that definitely prevents them from being attacked, whether it's North Korea or any other power. So the proliferation of weapons, of nuclear weapons in the world, will just start to grow very soon, because this is a real deterrence. And I wouldn't be surprised if in a few years, actually not few years, I would say 2 to 3 years, Ukraine will have nuclear devices. And then that will stop the war. And
And we're part of the problem with nuclear if we show we're a bad friend, if the U.S. and now the world doesn't trust our friendship because we're acting like lunatics internationally, and that's an impetus for all these nations, yeah, to nuke it up.
Yeah,
I'll
definitely.
tell you one more thing. Right now, you see, in international policies of the United States, one thing is obvious: they don't think far enough. They're like chess players and grandmasters and calculate 5, 10 moves ahead. United States may calculate only 1.5 moves ahead. So what's happened is that okay, Trump is he's not a great economist, but somehow in his head the tariffs is the greatest thing that will create additional revenue for the United States and will make it great again and so on. Look at what's happened with even my country, Canada. First of all business of Tesla in Canada is done and finished. They're closing dealership. There are not too many dealerships, but there are. They're closing them. They're removing, and there will be even no place. Like for my friend Milan, who is on the financial show, he has Tesla. I'm wondering where he's going to service his car when it's due. Very unclear to me. In Great Britain, all Tesla trucks all removed from the dealership. There are no more Tesla trucks being sold in United Kingdom.
I mean, it would be crazy to have a Tesla truck in England anyway, because the streets are this freaking wide, and the Tesla truck is like 7 feet across. So that you couldn't like.
Yeah, it's a big street and everything from what I understand. I do have a question for Jatova real quickly and everything, because I don't recall, and you kind of alluded to it, both you, Rick, and Sasha and everything, but I don't recall ever that I can remember a like a third party being as prominent in a State of the Union as Elon Musk was. Elon Musk was acknowledged. He was definitely prominent and everything like that. So I just wanted your take on that, because he was definitely.
So, okay, sorry, I get all worked up, but like we're living in weird times. And I asked ChatGPT, look, are these weird political times like a little a blip of history just due to like some weirdo Trump, having good luck? Or is weird politics a consequence of the same technology that leads to social media and AI? And ChatGPT said, nah, it's to be, and ChatGPT, it's not, the authority of the world, but it said, yeah, you'd expect weirdness because of all this tech disruption. And Trump got elected in part because of social media. And Musk, gets a lot of his props, gets a lot of, people, all the crypto boys love Musk. And all this weirdness is, part of, we live in the, this is a science fiction era. And instead of flying cars, we have frickin' Elon Musk.
Yeah, but Rick, the other thing that he was elected on, which I don't think he addressed hardly at all from what I heard, and I did go back and watch the parts that I missed, or at least heard some of the analysis of it. Did he even touch on the economy because of the bird flu? Egg prices are up.
I don't know. Eggs are 8.7. National average for dozen eggs, 8.17, all-time record, up 24.7% since he became president. Obviously it's not his fault.
We have to stop saying,
but it wasn't Biden's fault either. So if you're gonna go after Biden for the price of stuff, you can go. It's fair game to go after Trump.
So we have to stop saying that it's not his fault. The reason being, bird flu. You are correct. That creation of that is not his fault. The handling of it is. That's the same thing that we did with COVID, and the reason why Trump gets this pass on his dealing with COVID, except for nobody gives Biden or anybody else a pass. They always give Trump a pass. Biden, yes, there was bird flu. Biden also was had the scientists, the researchers, and so on and so forth that were there to handle bird flu. Who fired those people? Trump did. Bird flu is expanding. Measles. Who's head of DHS? An individual who is trying to push alternative medicines for measles right now. He went from, oh, well, it's not that big of a deal to, oh, well, hey, you know, the vaccine could help, to let's do alternative medicines. So again, bird flu and stuff like that, the creation of it, not his fault. But how he's handling and dealing with it is. The reason prices and the fact that eggs are not going to come down for a while is his fault because of firing the individuals that deal with that situation. And to answer your question, Mark, around Elon Musk, the man paid for his position. The man has so much on Donald Trump, and Trump will not actually buck Elon Musk because there is something there. Money and power Elon has over Donald Trump. So Elon is that president, and Donald Trump is that puppet. And as much as I've told David that there's no oversight, and he keeps trying to say that, oh, well, hey, there are people, he's just an advisor. Everything that Elon has asked for, he has gotten. That is
because he's a good hire. Come on, Jacoby, just wake up, smell the coffee. He is probably Trump's best hire. If you think about it, his worst hire was RFK. RFK doesn't belong in any administration anywhere. He's complete.
How is Elon Musk his quote unquote best hire?
Best hire, dude. Okay, because of this. First of all, Jacoby, you could never afford Elon Musk.
So he's rich.
Nobody on this panel could afford.
So he's rich.
Third,
so he's his best hire because he's rich.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. In other words,
so money is the only thing.
He did not actually what he
can do.
You guys,
just because he was born in money.
When I first watched him, he's almost like who's that guy Jeff Bezos. When I watched his investment in Tesla, I was going, "What a stupid thing to do." He's going to take on the big automotive industry. And he did, and he won. And so when you look at a guy like this, he's rich, he's very successful, and he's really smart. Three things that you don't have. Three things that the Democratic Party wished that they had. He is by far the best hire. And he does smell the smoke. He smells the BS coming from the Democratic Party, which is all the spending that they do on stupid things. So
you have said
a great hire. I would hire him in a New York minute.
Absolutely nothing. You have said.
I know, to you all of them are bad. I understand that.
Nick,
all of them are bad.
You have said qualifies him. You have stated that he is rich and he bought a company.
It's better than the poor idiots you've had running this country.
That is your idea. Listen to what you stated. You said the man is rich and bought a company. That means he's qualified to actually run the government. That is a piss poor idea of how to run the government.
Absolutely. See, the poor idea of running the government is having commoners come in and think they know how to run the government, and the commoners don't have a clue. And having the people that are
for both of you and I'm also going to bring in Kim as well. Hold on a
intellectual people run the government.
Because I'm also bringing Kim as well and everything.
Yeah,
I've got a question for both of you. It's something that Kim talks about all the time and everything. One thing that I heard on this speech, I heard it from the Biden camp as well when Biden was in the office and everything, and it can get frustrated. And I think it's something that Kim has brought up a couple of times on past shows and everything. A lot of the speech that, from what I heard, and like I said, I only caught like maybe the last 30 minutes of the hour and 40 minutes or whatever, but it was very much a campaign rally attack on Biden. So everything that was going wrong with the country was Biden's fault. And I will argue, and some people may agree, some people may not, that when Biden was in office, there was a lot of everything was Trump's fault. So there's a lot of this back and forth, everything the other side's fault. And I know that Kim has talked a lot about this need to actually have common sense solutions and everything along those lines. So I just wanted your take on that, because I know that that's something that Kim has brought up, this notion of trying to have balance and some common sense solutions. So Kim, that's why I turned it off to you and everything like that, because I know that's something you've oftentimes brought up, is that oftentimes we spend too much time demonizing folks. And yeah, Trump did demonize not just the Democrats, but he went on a whole trans rant
and it was all the trans.
Well, and they choose to continue shaming people. The MAGA people do, and I had a long conversation with someone who used to be MAGA, and his story is quite fascinating. And I'm convincing him to come to our show and share it. He was saved, as he put it. But I want to talk about the firing squad going on, and another firing squad that's going to happen in less than 2 days, which is the first execution by firing squad in South Carolina. Barbaric state as it is, they are going to be allowing someone to be executed by firing squad, mainly by his choice, because the previous people who were executed died horrific deaths because the lethal injections were either expired, the drug was expired, or they didn't use enough. And so, the people had to watch. But the concern of the firing squad is that it's indoors. It's not in a gun safe shooting indoor range, and that it could be dangerous and harmful for the witnesses, the employees, maybe prisoners who might be standing around. But it's dangerous. But, you have these pro-life people who forgive J6ers who storm a castle and riot and destroy and burn down things, who continue to commit horrific crimes and are continuously being arrested. And they'll pardon and forgive them because they did all of this in the name of their God, Trump. But, this man, he did a horrible thing. But, the Republicans' way of forgiving him is to execute him. I don't believe in execution all the time. I don't know his full story. I know that he's not going to get a pardon, nor is he going to get a stay of execution. It will continue on. Apparently, he killed his wife's parents or his girlfriend's parents with a ball bat. Probably rage and anger, and he'd probably been arrested several times previously for abusive behavior, and they just didn't correct it. But I just want to say that there's a lot going on, and I think we need to pay close attention to all of the details, which no one is doing. Everyone is just dispersing out like this, and they're doing exactly what they want to do. They're dividing us, and they're sending us in different directions with all of these smoke screens of things that they're doing. So pay close attention. The only person who really needed those minerals is Elon. All of a sudden, Elon decides to submit a bill for millions of people for millions of dollars for his services of Doge when he didn't get the minerals. So I'd like to see if that's going to disappear or if he's going to keep that going. But everything that they promised us, they in a way did, but they're doing other things, and it's bad. There's no morals, no ethics, and when you operate under this kind of fashion, the ship's going to sink. I watched corporations behave exactly like this. You're recklessly going out and firing people and then coming back and go, oh, I want to hire you back. Now Elon wants to hire back TSA employees because they fired too many. And, of course, we're seeing the results of what happens when you fire TSA. I don't give a damn about all of this transgender, sports craps, because I think that that's just, a smokescreen over here. I do care about them. But you know what? That's a choice people make if they want to play sports against a transgender. And that is not life-threatening. But this TSA crap is killing people. It's putting people's lives at risk. And did anyone even consider the fact that when they started firing all of these people, that they were already understaffed and they are on mandatory, listen to this, your tower people are on mandatory 10-hour days, 6 days a week, and you expect them to bring a flight in? Think again. So I just want to realize that this kind of reckless firing brought down many people many companies over the years.
Right.
And it's
Sasha than me than Jatovi.
I just
Okay.
wanted to mention that yes, Firing Squad has its shortcomings, same as lethal injections. That's why for many years, I was a proponent of guillotine, because guillotine would do a wonderful job with the minimal expenses. Yeah, there are no mistakes, and it just cuts as many heads as you need. It's very efficient. In 1 hour, you can cut at least 15 heads, and there's no mistakes. So I don't understand why you not substitute this Firing Squad, which involves so many people, and they have to fire, and not all of them are good at firing, and they have to be trained, and then you have to spend the munition to kill somebody by firing squads, and a lot of munitions. It's so unproductive. It's economically horrible. Guillotine. That's the answer.
All right. So I want to talk polls. Yesterday, day 43 of Trump's presidency, his net approval turned negative. Now he's underwater. He started with +8% positive approval. Now he's under a little bit, and he'll probably stay under for the rest of his presidency. If you look at his first presidency, he had a similar drop. He went from +4 to -5 in just 24 days. So he tanked faster because we weren't used to his brand of dickishness. But now he's falling a little more slowly because we've been kind of vaccinated against his bullshit. So,
yeah. No, I mean, you're right. We are accustomed to his lies, and we just say, oh, he lies anyway, so no big deal, right?
I think it's not that we're vaccinated against it. I think more people have fallen into the trap of the show.
Yeah.
And the show itself, for example, in his speech last night, he brings up a kid with cancer, with childhood cancer. Oh, everybody's going to clap for the kid with childhood cancer. And the Republicans go out and complain. Why didn't the Democrats clap for the kid who overcame childhood cancer? Well, thank you for the show as you sit there and cut research into childhood cancer. So what am I clapping for? For this one kid who got over it when you're cutting childhood cancer so these other kids don't?
Yeah,
So
thanks to that research, he recovered. Right.
That is the show that people are buying, the BS and the gaslighting, because he did that a lot.
Yeah.
When you're talking about veterans, he's up here showcasing a veteran. Woo, we're supposed to clap for the veteran as you're firing veterans. Your lawyer saying that the veterans are unqualified. That's why they're being fired. You have people on your staff already canceling, and you have Elon Musk jumping around with a chainsaw talking about how happy he is cutting these veterans. So what are we clapping for? So that's the show that people are falling for. And
I'll help you out since you guys don't know. Here's what you're clapping for. You're getting rid of all the waste, fraud, and abuse that exists.
Oh, childhood cancer is waste. Okay.
And you have to trim the budget.
Nick, you just said it. Childhood cancer is waste.
Or you? I thought you said you don't like to talk over people.
You said that childhood cancer is waste. That's what we were just talking about. Veterans are waste. That's what we were talking about.
What I'm saying is
you're upset
your program, your climate change
cancer, veterans,
your liberal climate change programs, your liberal internet for all program. The problem with what you guys have done over the last several years is you put the U.S. government $37 trillion in the hole. So you have no maneuver room. And so if you want to know whose fault it is,
that are going to jack it by 4.5,
look to Washington, D.C.
And then on top of that, adding $4 trillion.
Look to the blue states.
Added to the debt. But you're complaining about what happened in the past. You're calling childhood cancer waste. You're calling veterans waste.
The government, your government can't afford it because you're spending. Remember, Jatovi, you want an internet for everybody, internet for all.
Actually adding an
Okay,
extra
you
$4
can't
trillion.
afford that. See, what you don't get is you don't have unlimited funds. You don't get that.
But you're not saying anything about the GOP plan.
Internet for all, climate change to Stacey.
You're not saying anything at all about the GOP plan.
Well, the thing is, because you wanted your internet for all and all your climate change.
For all is not in the actual
You don't have any money for
$8.5 trillion.
So if you
Yeah,
want
hold on a second, hold on a second, because we only got a few more minutes to go, and I was going to bring up one other issue that we talked about before. It actually ties into the media show and everything really quickly. But I was just wondering, because there's a congressional bill that is out there, because there is a major entity, and you're going to love this, Nick and Jacoby, that is got a monopoly, and there is a effort to stop the monopoly and everything, because there's now this notion of how much Gen Z and just people in general are willing to pay to go to tickets, to go to concerts, whether that's Beyonce, whether that's Taylor Swift, whether that's Jay-Z. So there is actually a bill, Move On's got the bill, to tell Congress to make concerts affordable and to stop Ticketmaster, because Ticketmaster, like Live Nation, is part of a monopoly. So are we going to see a monopoly busting effort from either Trump or anybody else, particularly
I would not stop them at all. Look, if people are stupid, and they are, enough to want to spend $400 to go see Beyonce or Taylor Swift, rather than invest it in stocks, bonds, mutual funds, or annuity, okay, then that's their problem. I wouldn't stop it at all. Let tickets take as much money as they can from the suckers. It's just like the casinos out there. If you're that stupid, you're going to go to casinos and think you're going to win, then that's your choice, But I don't think that's the federal government's purview to get involved in people's financial stupidity. Yeah, Sasha.
Nick, talking about investing in stock and bonds, not in this environment. With this policy, what are now, I've completely changed my view of investing these days. I will talk about it on Financial Show in about 2 hours' time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
The damage has been already enormous to all the trend lines, all the charts show that the stock will go to much lower level. In the last 2 weeks, I've completely adjusted my investments. I have 0 shares of NVIDIA, sold last of them at 100.
You are a real bear today, aren't you, Sasha? A bear, baby.
The last shares I sold at $132. NVIDIA.
Yeah, so that Rick's got something he wants to say. Just really quickly, Nick, so you're not going to be taking on predatory lending either, because that's what they're saying, is that this becomes a form of predatory style investment with the monopoly if Ticketmaster has it, which means that you also have no problem with predatory lending.
Look, there's this old rule: a fool and his money is soon parted. Okay, so if the fools are going to allow themselves to be, torn up by high interest rate credit cards and predatory lending because they needed a Beyonce ticket, then they belong in the bottom quartile. What am I supposed to say? That's their problem.
Starting with Reagan, Republicans have a philosophy that the monopolies aren't so bad. They reflect an efficiency of the system, that the best companies rise to the top. Biden had the most trust-busting anti-monopoly FTC chair in decades, but that's over now. I assume she's out.
Same thing with the.
I know monopolies are great. I wish I had more companies that had monopolies. When you're looking for stocks, you talk to Sasha, he's looking for ones that have moats. In English, he's looking for ones that have monopolies. So the thing is, if you're losing on the monopoly side, I suggest that you buy stocks and companies that have.
I will say this: IBM has been outperforming everyone in the stock sector. I had a huge meeting with my advisor yesterday, and he said it's thanks to IBM I am still in the black. So but IBM, which I don't like IBM the company at all.
But you like the stock.
But their stock has literally been outperforming everyone. But everyone, don't just please don't listen to me. I just met with my advisor. Listen to the experts. Modern Investing with Sasha at 1 p.m. today. We need to start thinking smarter, as Nick is trying to tell everyone. Change the way that you're investing. Don't rely on the president. That is what I've been trying to say for years. The president isn't what controls your personal pocketbook. It does control what you do on the outside of your home, but get your home intact. There are some wonderful shows coming out soon where we're trying to teach people how to do gardening, set up greenhouses, prepare for the apocalypse that is coming. If you're prepared, even if it doesn't happen, you're still ahead of the game. As Nick always says, stay one
Well,
step
speaking
ahead.
of that, we got a gardening show. We've also got
We gotta go.
starting very shortly a fashion show. So we'll be telling people how to style themselves as well. So there's a young lady that'll be
With
bringing
old
a
clothes. We
fashion
can't
show.
buy new clothes. We can't afford to buy new clothes.
Right,
So,
and she talks a lot about the used clothes and the Goodwills and the things like that. So it'll be
Okay.
a fashion show that she'll be bringing our way very shortly. It may start as early as next week.
Yep. Everyone, thank you. And join us tomorrow. Don't forget to watch Sasha's show to learn how to invest in these economic storms. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon. I think somebody's moved my out. There
It's
we go.
on the. It's yeah, exactly.